All right, today we are diving into one of the absolute most sought-after styles in home design right now, Rustic Modern. It's a style that's all about making our homes feel more authentic, more calming, and just deeply meaningful. So, let's get into what makes it so special.
You know that feeling when you're trying to find that perfect sweet spot for your home? You want the calm, clean vibe of minimalism, but you don't want it to feel like a cold, empty box. And you love warmth and coziness, but you really don't want the clutter that can come with more traditional styles. If that sounds like you, then Rustic Modern is probably what you've been looking for all along.
So what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, Rustic Modern is this beautiful, thoughtful mix. It takes that earthy, nature-inspired soul of rustic design, the wood, the stone, and marries it with the clean, uncluttered principles of modern minimalism. It's not one or the other. It's truly the best of both worlds.
And I love this phrase because it just nails it. You could say Rustic Modern is minimalism with a heartbeat. Some minimalist spaces can feel a little, impersonal, right? This style creates rooms that feel alive, full of soul, all while sitting on that serene, simple foundation.
To really get a feel for it, it helps to see where it fits in. So think about it this way. On one extreme, you have stark minimalism, which can be cold and a bit uniform. On the other end, you've got traditional rustic, which sometimes feels heavy, maybe even a little cluttered. Rustic Modern, it just carves out that perfect middle ground defined by warmth, real intention, and tons of gorgeous texture.
So let's dig into that idea a little more, this style with a heart. Because this is not just some fleeting trend. It's an approach that has surprisingly deep roots and a really interesting story to tell.
Believe it or not, the philosophy goes way back to the 19th century, born from the simple resourcefulness of American settlers. Now, the term itself started gaining traction in the 1960s, but the style as we know it today really took off in Southern California around 2011. It started in cool restaurants and bars and then just exploded into our homes, becoming a true cornerstone of warm, intentional design.
And that whole history leads us to a really crucial point. Rustic Modern has become so much more than just a look. It's really a philosophy for how we choose to live in our own spaces.
It's all built on these core ideas, making sustainable choices with our materials, honoring real craftsmanship, being mindful about what we buy and bring into our homes, and fostering this deep biophilic connection, which is really just a fancy way of saying we have this built-in human need to connect with nature.
This quote just perfectly sums up the whole mindset. A lot of modern design is about chasing perfection, flawless surfaces, perfect lines. But Rustic Modern, it celebrates the beauty of imperfection. That unique grain in a piece of wood, the slight wobble in a handmade pot. Those aren't flaws, they're the features that give a piece its character.
And these choices aren't just about looks. They have a real, measurable impact. Get this. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, making new lumber takes a whopping 11 to 13 times more energy than using reclaimed wood. So choosing a piece with a past isn't just an aesthetic choice, it's a powerfully sustainable one.
Okay, so we totally get the philosophy behind it. Now for the fun part. Let's get practical. What are the essential building blocks you actually need to create this look and feel?
It really comes down to 4 key players in your material palette. First, reclaimed wood is the absolute star of the show. Then you have natural stone and concrete to bring in that earthy, grounding texture. Warm metals like brass or blackened steel give it that clean, modern edge. And finally, you bring in natural textiles. Think linen, wool, cotton for that essential layer of softness and comfort.
And when we talk about wood, we're talking about wood with a story. Reclaimed barnwood where you can still see the nail holes, salvaged teak from old ships or buildings, rough sawn lumber where you can see the marks from the mill. This is the stuff that gives a space its unique character and that sense of history.
Now, choosing colors can feel a little intimidating sometimes, but there's a super simple guideline for this style. The 60-30-10 rule. The idea is that 60% of your space is that foundation of warm neutrals, like warm whites and soft grays. Then 30% comes from the natural materials themselves, all those beautiful wood tones and stone grays. And that last 10%, that's your playground for earthy accents, like a pop of terracotta or a deep forest green.
Okay, texture. This is what keeps the whole style from feeling flat or cold. The magic is all in the contrast. Imagine a super smooth plaster wall right next to a rough weathered wood beam, or a polished concrete floor with a chunky natural jute rug on top. It's this constant play between smooth and rough, hard and soft that creates so much warmth and visual interest.
So now you have the building blocks.
The materials, the colors, the textures. Let's put it all together with a clear, totally doable roadmap to bring this beautiful style right into your own home.
It's a pretty simple 6-step process. First, you start with a neutral foundation. Get those walls painted. Second, anchor the whole room with one signature piece of reclaimed wood. Third, balance that rustic piece with some clean modern elements. Fourth, layer in all those cozy natural textiles. Fifth, curate just a few meaningful accessories. Less is more. And finally, bring the outside in with some plants and lots of natural light.
And remember, you absolutely do not have to do this all at once. The key is to just start with one high-impact anchor piece. A great reclaimed wood dining table or a really solid coffee table can set the entire tone for a room. And then you can build out from there over time. No pressure.
And I know what you might be thinking, that this all sounds expensive. But this style is actually incredibly accessible. You can make a huge impact with really low-cost changes, like a fresh coat of paint or some new throw pillows. The key is to focus your biggest investment where it matters most, on that one signature anchor piece that you're just going to love for years and years to come.
And really, this is what it all comes back to in the end. In a rustic modern home, nothing is there by accident. Every single element is chosen with intention. The pieces you bring into your home, they tell a story of sustainability, of craftsmanship, of your connection to the natural world.
And that really is the perfect question to leave you with. Because with this approach, you're not just decorating a house, you're crafting a home that actually reflects your values. You're telling your own unique story. So, what story will yours tell?